1988. The crime rate in the United States rises 400%. 1991. The United States Police Force is formed. 1997. New York City is a walled maximum security prison. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Kurt Russell. Lee Van Cleef. Ernest Borgnine. Donald Pleasance. Isaac Hayes. Susan Hughley. Harry Dean Stanton as Brain. And Adrienne Barbeau as Maggie. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. The ultimate adventure of escape and survival.
And that is the trailer for one of John Carpenter's, I truly say, greatest films he's ever made. Escape from New York is a 1981 action film starring Kurt Russell as the particularly strong anti-hero Snake Plisken, who has to travel into the prison known as New York City, where he has to locate the president and get the president back out of New York and do it in 24 hours. The way that this movie is set up is pretty much Kurt Russell, who plays Snake Plissken, is on death row, but the U.S. government needs him in order to go rescue the president, played by the late, great Donald Pleasance. And General Hawk, played by the late, great Lee Van Cleef, pretty much tells Snake, hey, we're willing to give you a full pardon if you go in and save our president from the Duke of New York, played by the late, great Isaac Hayes. Well, Snake pretty much blows this off at first and says, find yourself a new president. And Hawk says, hey, we got this pardon here for you, buddy. Maybe you want to take it. And eventually, Snake Plissken does decide that he's going to go and try and save the president by heading into the prison known as New York City. At first, Snake thinks it's going to be a routine mission, but there's a catch. He has to save the president in 24 hours, or caplets that were put in Snake Plissken's neck are going to explode. And so he pretty much has to get in, find the president, get out, and make it back in time in order for these capsules to be, pretty much taken care of to where he doesn't die and his, arteries don't open up because, they blow up and then all that fun stuff. Well, John Carpenter, who had made a movie kind of like this earlier in the 70s called Assault on Precinct 13, makes a kind of love letter / I would say kind of almost unofficial sequel with Escape from New York, in that Snake Plissken has to pretty much go against all the odds. Time, the Duke of New York, the crazies, the US government, and all that stuff in order to save the president, who by the end of the movie you find out doesn't give a shred of shit about the people that gave their lives to save him, and doesn't even care about Snake Plissken. Pretty much blows him off in the end of the movie. And Snake Plissken, when he takes when he eventually makes it into New York City, he lands on the World Trade Centers and says, hey, it's going to be hard to take off. Landing wasn't such a pain in the ass, but taking off will be. And that's just one of the many things that I love about this movie is that the story keeps you on the edge. And, Kurt Russell isn't alone in this movie, as some of the big names being Ernest Borgnine, who plays Cabby, again, Lee Van Cleef as Hawk, Donald Pleasance plays the president, Isaac Hayes is the main bad guy in this movie, playing the Duke. Season Hubley is a lady that's trapped in a restaurant late at night because the crazies are out. Harry Dean Stanton plays Harold the Brain. Adrienne Barbeau plays Maggie. Tom Atkinson's in this movie. Charles Cyphers, Joe Unger, Frank Doubleday, John Strobel, John Cothran, Garrett Bergfeld, Richard Costanello, Robert John Metcalf, and Joel Bennett. Also, believe it or not, there is facts on facts, Benji. How are you doing today, buddy? Believe it or not, the lady that does the narration at the beginning of the film and even does some of the announcements and alerts in this movie is played by none other, well, it's actually the voice of Jamie Lee Curtis, who goes, I think, uncredited in this role because you don't see her, you just hear her voice. And for many years, people did not know that unless you truly knew what her voice sounded like. And it just goes to show you, John Carpenter, if you work well with him, he brings you into these movies. Just like with Charles Cyphers, he worked with him in many, many movies. Kurt Russell, um, and so many more. Yeah, that is true. But once Snake Plissken does get into New York, which is a fortress in this movie, you later see him make it to ground level. He, is looking for the president, but at the same time, the time is the clock is ticking. Like, he needs to find the president, get out, or all this stuff's gonna explode. And I think what really made this film so very well is you don't know how much time he has left until, like, you see him look at his watch every now and then, and you just know, like, he's probably thinking, God, hopefully I can find the president in this time, or I'm dead. So, I mean, this movie keeps you on the edge of your seat. And John Carpenter was well known and established as a director that could make a great movie. He does the music, the score for this film again, as he did with a lot of his films. Um, and of course, his name's in the beginning of the film. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. It was another thing that he demanded, that if it was a success, you knew why it was a success. If it was a failure, well, the name's on the front of it, so we know. Oh, it's really good. Like I said, it's kind of like a love child or sequel to Assault on Precinct 13, because it's a guy against odds that probably none of us could ever do. And Snake Plissken is not any ordinary guy. He's on death row. Even though he was a war hero and had served his country, he decided to go a different path. You don't really hear about it in the movie, but you find out that he decided to do a life of crime because he came disillusioned with how the government was and how everything was going, and he got caught. Well, when he's offered the pardon, it's almost like he doesn't care. He doesn't care that, the president is behind the fortress of New York City. He just doesn't care about the country at all. And so when he's finally talked into doing this, or decides on his own to do this, he goes all in. And I mean, when you meet Cabby, it's one of those things where Ernest Borgnine, great actor. I've never really seen him in a movie where he hasn't shined in the movie. He does an amazing job in this film. He doesn't overdo it. Same thing with Harry Dean Stanton as Brain. Doesn't have any scenes that are throwaway scenes. Adrienne Barbeau, who plays Brain's wife Maggie, amazing actress. Lee Van Cleef gives a performance that I think is a Lee Van Cleef performance. Donald Pleasance plays the president in that movie to the ninth degree, where you really believe that this guy, that Donald Pleasance, if he was ever the president and was that type of guy, he would hate his constituents. And he, like I said before, he does not give a shit that people literally died saving his life and that Snake Plissken saved his life. He doesn't care. Like, he gives them one, he's like, hey, is there something you want to say? And Snake and the president's like, yeah, I thank all the people that gave their life. It's their sacrifice kept me safe. And Donald Pleasance delivers it in such a nonchalant role, like, piss on them, type shit. So while Snake is looking for the president, he's also got to deal with the Duke of New York, played by the legendary late great Isaac Hayes, who, I have to say, his acting skill is so incredible as a villain. Like, you would have never thought that the lead singer for the song Shaft would be such an amazing bad guy. But he is. And John Carpenter, I think, took great glee in being like, well, I got Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken, the anti hero. Let's add all these things in the mix so that he can't, it's not easy for him. That Snake has to think and all that stuff. And so, at the very least, as soon as you see Snake make it and deliver the president over the wall and all that, you're like, damn, you want to buy Snake a beer afterwards. I mean, hell, I've seen this movie many times, and I told my wife, I was like, I would love to buy Snake a beer, because to go through all that shit and survive, I mean, you had to fight through the crazies, you had to fight through the Duke and his henchmen, you had to fight through the US government and all that stuff. So I mean, by the end of this movie, you're just like, you're wondering why Snake just didn't at the end say, you know what, this is my role from now on and give me another job. But Snake kind of walks off into the abyss at the end of the movie, which we would later get a sequel called Escape from LA. But, we're talking about Escape from New York and how amazing it was for a 80s movie. Um, and no, Benji, no, words are hard, everyone. No co-host tonight, doing it solo. But hey, you know what? I think I can handle it for one night. So yeah, it's one of those movies that keeps you on your feet. It did really well at the box office, and I mean, who knows? Maybe one day, maybe get Kurt Russell to come back as Snake Plissken. That would be so cool if we could have gotten the elusive third Escape movie, which originally Escape from Mars was supposed to be, or Ghost of Mars with Ice Cube was originally supposed to be the third Snake Plissken movie, which would have been Escape from Mars. But because Escape from LA had done so horrible, they decided to say, no, we don't want to do it. And I think by that point, John Carpenter's stock as a director had kind of taken a kind of a nosedive after The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. So it's no shock that after a while, John Carpenter kind of fell off with directing and not really wanting to direct the big Hollywood epics that was needed to keep his career afloat. He wanted to make his own movies, and that's why John Carpenter, and I'll say this until the day I die, is one of the greatest directors ever, because he could literally make a movie where New York is a maximum security prison, shelled off from the whole world by a big wall, mines in the water, and a rover and helicopters, choppers patrolling so that no one escapes. And to be able to get Kurt Russell to play Snake Plisken, who is not a hero, he's an anti-hero in this movie, and he's such a badass in this movie, is a testament to how John Carpenter is as a director. The one thing that I think I didn't really care for was that there is some throwaway scenes. Like at the beginning, you see that he's getting closer to the president. Well, we find out that it's a bum or a drunk who's got the president's life support watch on or whatever. And Plisken tells Hawk, like, hey, your president's dead or is probably dead. But Hawk is just like, well, find him, make sure he's alive or dead. And so then Snake Plissken goes on his merry way and keeps fighting through New York until he later does find the president with help from Brain and Maggie and Cabby. But the president kind of gives away that Snake is killing one of the Duke's men, so that one of the Duke's other men is looking at the president going, what are you looking at? Like, why are you so shocked about? Turns around and shoots Snake Plissken in the leg with an arrow, and Plisken luckily gets the knife throw of Call of Duty proportions and hits the bad guy, kills the bad guy. And when they go to escape, then Snake and the president are captured again, to where the Duke in New York meets Snake Plissken and Snake meets the Duke. And when Plisken wakes up again, he's got to fight against Ox Baker, who plays a wrestler, or I don't know what they call Ox Baker's character in this movie, but it's pretty much like a wrestle to the death type scene. And Plisken dispatches the big oaf, as I call him, and he signals to the outside world that, hey, I have the president, we're on our way, get ready. And so it becomes a chase with Plisken, Cabby, the president, Maggie, and the Brain in the Cabby's car, with the Duke of New York chasing after them. And they go on a bridge that's filled with mines. Well, Brain has a map or a diagram of the bridge and where all the mines are and where it's safe and where they can go and all that. That doesn't really help them out. I think whoever did the diagram either made mistakes or Brain had it upside down, because it blows up their car, halves their car, kills Cabby, and Snake, President, Maggie, with Brain, they decide they're going to take off on foot on the bridge. And we're not seeing the time. We're not seeing how much time is left. We're not seeing um, any of that. So you're kind of like on suspense of, well, how long does Snake have? How much time is there? And John Carpenter did mention that in an interview that he had with Robert Rodriguez, stating that he wishes he would have put a timer where people could have seen how much time was left and how quickly they had to get across that bridge for Snake to survive. And to me, I like it the way it is. I like the way that it builds up that suspense of you not knowing. And then, of course, he gets the president, when Snake gets the president up to the wall, he has the president hoisted up. Well, he's waiting for the thing to come down. The Duke ends up showing up. Snake attacks him, and he tries to escape up the same way that the president did, while the president stops the crane from lifting Snake out right away and kills the Duke of New York. Meanwhile, by this time, Maggie has been hit by the car, Brain has stepped on a mine, and Snake is dangling above the wall, waiting to be saved because the president's an asshole and decides to stop the crane from moving, or the winch from moving. After the Duke of New York is killed, the president, played by Donald Pleasance, says, "You're the Duke of New York, a number one." And so finally, with the Duke dispatched, Plisken is winched back up, saved. Well, he has to make it so that they can get these capsulets that are in his neck out so that he doesn't die. And when he looks at the watch, there was like 1 second left. If he would have been there a second late, boom, bye Snake Plissken. And he goes up to the president, and the president's like, "Yeah, I owe you my life. Could I help you with anything? Anything you need?" And Snake said, "Just a moment of your time. How do you feel about the people that a lot of good people died trying to rescue you?" And the president just nonchalantly says, "Oh, I appreciate their sacrifice. The country appreciates their sacrifice." And he's looking at himself in the mirror while he's getting a shave and makes himself look good for the camera, because he was supposed to be at the Hartford summit to talk to the foreign leaders about tranium or some weird thing. And so it's funny because Snake literally figures out that the president didn't give a shit. He don't give a shit about Snake. He didn't give a shit about the people that died saving his ass. So he walks away. Um, and Tom Atkinson's character just puts his head in his puts his head down and shakes his head, because it's like even he knows the president's an asshole. Well, Snake walks off and he runs into Hawk. Well, Hawk's like, "Well, I suppose you're gonna kill me now, Snake." And he's like, Snake just says, "I'm too tired too," and that his name is Plisken. And Plisken walks off. Well, the president, thinking that he's gonna play the recording for the delegates of these foreign countries, is actually playing the music that was the cabbie had, and that Snake Plissken has the cassette. Well, Snake Plissken ruins the cassette, and that's how the movie ends. It it's a great movie. I honestly 100% think people that haven't seen this movie should see it. It's one of those movies that if you're a Kurt Russell fan or you're a John Carpenter fan, you're not going to be dissuaded by this movie. If I had to give it a ranking, ugh, if I was going to do a ranking out of 5, I'd give it probably a 4.5 out of 5. But if I was going to do it out of from 0 to 10, I'd give it a solid 8. There is parts of this movie where there are goofs, like when Plisken is trying to escape from the crazies and he shoots through the wall. You actually see his eye patch flip up. And in the book or the novelization, we find out that Snake still can see out of the eye that has the eye patch on it. It's just that it's so sensitive to light. That's why he has it over his eye. And there are also goofs and pretty good trivia in this movie. The tagline for the movie was, "The world's greatest leader is a hostage in the most dangerous place on earth. Now only the deadliest man alive can save him." Um, Kurt Russell has stated that this is his favorite of all his films, and Snake Plissken is his favorite of all his characters that he played. Some of the goofs were as I said, during the sequence where Snake is being chased by the crazies and is about to shoot an oval pattern in a wall so he can break through, his eye patch shifts enough to reveal a perfectly good eye. This is commonly regarded as a mistake, but it is not. The novelization of the movie explains that Snake still has his left eye, but he wears the patch due to a paralyzed iris, making it extremely sensitive to light. Um, and there's also an alternate version, which is a collector's edition laserdisc during the director commentary that shows scenes that were cut of a high tech bank robbery, which would later lead to Snake's conviction and eventual prison sentencing to New York. And that's the movie in a nutshell. This is really a great movie. It was released in July 10th of 1981. The filming locations was actually the Fox Theater in St. Louis, Missouri, which was for Broadway's The Theatrical Relics. The production company was AVCO Embassy Production Pictures, International Film Investors, Goldcrest Film International. The budget was an estimated $6 million. Wow. And it grossed 25 million, where the worldwide was 25 million as well. So this movie did really well. Um, but yeah, I mean it's really really interesting to know that this movie kind of started really Kurt Russell's ascension to action star and one of the greatest action stars of the 80s. Granted, Snake Plissken wasn't, you know, one of those Rambo types or Rocky types or anything like that, but you like Snake Plissken because he's a no nonsense guy. He doesn't take shit from anyone. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much the whole movie in a nutshell. And I if I would have had a co-host tonight, I'd probably talk a little bit more about the film. But I don't want to bore everyone, so it's streaming on the Nonsensical Network YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, and X. Unless you're talking about the movie, I think you can hold on one second. I have to look that one up. I think you can watch it on YouTube. I think. So where to watch? You can watch it on Sling TV free, Amazon Prime for free, YouTube you need a Prime Time subscription, Fandango, Google Play, Apple TV, and YouTube Television. I, although it says on YouTube TV it's not available on that device. So there is that. Yes, Jeff, I kind of figured that one out. Sorry. But yeah, that is the movie in a nutshell. I really do love the movie. I think it's a great John Carpenter film. I think it's a great Kurt Russell film. If you haven't seen it yet, go out of your way to watch it. You'll love the movie. It is kind of slow, but it does pick up pretty quickly as well. And if you have seen it, watch it again. I mean, this movie is such a great movie that honestly, I think most people don't give it enough credit. It's such a great movie
What's up, buddy?
that honestly, I think
So
most people.
as you know the movie more than me.
Yep.
And one second, I need to disconnect my headphones and plug them back in. But
Yeah, you're good.
part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this movie was ahead of its time. I honestly think that Kurt Russell is.
What's up, Glick?
Hey, Glick, how are you doing? Is one of the greatest action. Well, actually, you can't even consider Kurt Russell in this movie as a hero. He's an anti-hero, and I think that's what really built up the whole anti-hero mystique in movies. We would get that with other action stars at the time, with Sylvester Stallone with Rambo.
Yeah, but Rambo was sought out to be that hero when they put him in the situation. And I get what you're saying. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell, he one of my favorite of his movies is Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep.
And now I have not seen Escape from New York. I've been meaning to watch it, but once again, that's why I asked in the comments where I see it streaming. But like I said, now I have seen clips, and like I said, I don't know the movie from Adam. However, the clip where he's playing basketball is this one or this LA?
No, that's Escape from LA.
Okay, and like I said, I haven't seen the movie, and if I would have realized I've been jumping up on here, I probably would have watched it. But but like I said, it's not necessarily my genre that I gravitate to. Although it is, it's one of those things. I just haven't gotten around to seeing it, and as much as you and I are movie buffs, I probably should have seen it, and I probably would like it.
Definitely. I mean, granted, I was born in the 90s, but this was one of my dad's favorite movies. Like, I was like 8 years old when he was like, Steven, I know I've shown you Halloween, I've shown you scary movies, but you know what? I want to show you this movie. And so it became a favorite movie of me and my dad. Because
and I missed a few minutes because I got busy watching something else, waiting for you to start, and I was like, this is amazing and really interesting. But I definitely wanted to show up and at least support. I didn't realize you didn't have a co-host tonight, so I figured I'd come up and save you a little bit.
Thank you. I'm sure Glick was probably sitting there like, hey, Jeff, go save him.
So, okay, yeah, run down the cast for me real quick.
Shut up, Glick. It wasn't Dennis Quaid, you fucker.
Honestly, I don't know who's in the movie. I'm actually bringing up the cast list now.
Yeah, I looked on IMDb. Kurt Russell, of course. Lee Van Cleef played Hawk. Ernest Borgnine was Cabby. Donald Pleasance played the president. Isaac Hayes was the Duke of New York.
Oh, Harry Dean Stanton's in this? I love that dude.
Yep, he was the brain. Adrienne Barbeau is Maggie. Tom Atkins is in this film. Charles Cyphers, who would be in a couple other Carpenter films. And there's also a cameo by it's more of a voice cameo, but Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
So and I did catch your explanation of what the film is, but as somebody that's seen the movie several times yourself, and I do this with movies all the time. When you get ready to put on a movie, you're like, oh no, I really want to sit through that scene. What's that scene for you? Like, worst part of the movie that you're just like, oh, I know it's coming. Can I fast forward through it?
My favorite scene is
when they're on the least favorite. Like that cringeworthy scene where you're like, oh, I want to watch this movie, but I don't want to sit through that scene.
God, that's a good question.
The viewers can go, okay, so I know this part's coming up, and obviously spoilers, but I know this part's coming up. Do I really want to sit through that?
When they're trying to get the escape and the bad guys cut the glider, whatever it's called, off the Twin Towers.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my thing.
And it's like cringeworthy, you're saying?
Yeah, because I mean, it's like you see. So he has to land on the Twin Towers because that's the only place he can land. And with what had happened later on with the Twin Towers on 9/11, it's kind of like one of those things where you look back on it and it's like,
and you're like, ooh, bad choice.
Yeah, even though this movie was made way before then. I mean,
agreed.
Even in the King Kong remake, they had King Kong going up the trade towers, and which
really?
was
I did not know that. I'm not a big King Kong guy either. No, but so that being your least favorite scene because of the Twin Towers, and I get that. favorite scene?
When they're on the bridge. I mean, because you don't see how
Well,
much time.
remember, I have not seen this movie, so explain what's happening.
Well, when they get to the bridge, Snake Plisken keeps looking at his watch, which he has 24 hours to get the president out of New York so that he can make it to the summit type thing that he was on his way to for some. He was going to talk to the nation's powers about some type of element that was actually going to save the country.
Okay.
Because in this movie, it's kind of like what's going on now, where there's lawlessness everywhere and the country's on the brink of probably collapsing.
Okay.
Where in the movie, it's already done that.
Okay.
Not
quite post-apocalyptic, but getting pretty close.
Yeah. And so what they have done is they've taken the world's worst criminals and put them in New York and pretty much surrounded it with a wall.
So, like now.
Yeah.
I mean,
and when they're on the bridge scene, you just see Snake Plissken or Kurt Russell looking at his watch, and you're wondering how much time does he have left? Is he going to make it? Because if he doesn't make it in time, they had put caplets in his throat to where if he didn't make it in 24 hours, or he tried to go not do the mission, they would kill him.
Okay.
And so you don't know how much time he has left until he saves the president and all that. And he looks down at his watch and he's almost like 1 second. And if he would have been a second late, he's dead.
Okay.
And I mean, this movie is a great movie.
I'm going to just kind of explain to the people here. I have the trailer. And as soon as I get through the preview of the ad, I can play it for you.
Well, yeah, I played the trailer early on.
Did you? Okay. I mainly I want to play the trailer again just for my own education, because like I said, I've not seen this film. Mainly because I think it just comes down to laziness on my part, but it's now on Blu-ray, by the way.
Well, this is Scream Factory, probably.
1988. The crime rate in the United States rises 400%.
So like now.
The United States Police Force is formed. 1997. New York City is a walled maximum security prison. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Kurt Russell.
The editing is just Jeff-worthy.
Ernest Borgnine. Donald Pleasance. Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes, holy shit, man.
He does a great performance in this.
Harry Dean Stanton as Brain.
I love Harry Dean Stanton. That guy's awesome.
And Adrienne Barbeau as Maggie.
I mean, this is pure on Kurt Russell's heyday. I mean, he was built like a brick shit house.
Escape from New York.
Built like a brick shit house and
adventure of escape.
Just kind of a badass.
Survival.
Well, like I said, this movie, I think John Carpenter was trying to make a sequel to Assault on Precinct 13. And this is kind of like an unofficial, as I call it, sequel, even though it's not. And I know people in the comments are going to be like, this isn't a sequel to Assault on Precinct 13. It's not. But if you look at that movie,
reimagining sequel.
Kind of, yeah.
It's like not quite a sequel, but like an alternate universe kind of sequel.
Yeah.
I can see what you're going on.
Where Assault on Precinct 13 was pretty much world hasn't collapsed yet, and Escape from New York is like And if you look at both trailers, the lettering actually matches
Oh,
for
okay.
both Assault on Precinct 13 and Escape.
But what I was saying about, I mean, you can just watching that trailer there. I mean, you can totally date the movie. And but that's kind of Carpenter's style too.
Oh yeah.
When like Carpenter always has these, I get it. It's reminiscent of the trailer for Christine and reminiscent of the trailer for Big Trouble. The It's iconic, so to speak.
Yeah.
John Carpenter can cut a trailer and the movie titles. It's got that slow, ominous start, which is kind of like it's hard to replicate. It's what I mean.
It is. I mean, and that's the thing. Like I said, that's one thing that John Carpenter, I will go to my grave. He is the greatest movie director at that point.
I can agree with that for the simple fact, Carpenter, like I've seen Christine so many times. When you do the Christine movie, I can recite that movie from start to finish. I love that movie. And that's the car nut in me. But when it comes to John Carpenter, if John Carpenter makes a movie back in this era, you're like, oh yeah, we need to fucking see that. Because
once he escaped from some of these movies, like the critics did not understand the movie. They would also say the same thing with Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing. And
I've not seen The Thing. I've literally tried to find The Thing, and I cannot get it to stream. There's the remake, but I've wanted to see The Thing for several times because Kurt Russell's my dude.
Yeah.
I've seen Overboard so many times it's ridiculous. Mainly because I got a thing for Goldie Hawn. I don't know why.
So did he.
yeah, he did. He did.
But at the same time, like, I mean, this was probably John Carpenter's. I would say this was John Carpenter, prime John Carpenter. It was back during the age of the Grindhouse movie.
Okay.
And that's what Escape from New York pretty much is. And that's why Robert Rodriguez loves this movie. And when he did an interview, he asked John Carpenter, he's like, what's the biggest regret you made filming this movie? And he's like, not showing how much time Snake Plisken had on that damn bridge.
Agreed.
But at the same time, I think if you would have given away the surprise of how much time he had left while they're on that bridge, you would have known that, oh, okay, he's still fine, all that. Where when he's looking down at his watch, it's just like, how many seconds do you have left? How many minutes is it?
Oh, so they didn't show it.
No, like they'll show during the movie, like every now and then he'll look down and he'll be like, oh, okay, I got time. Well, when they're on the bridge, you just see him look down at it, and it's not like he gives it away that he's running low on time. But it's kind of like he keeps looking at it and he's like, come on, we got to hurry up. We got to go. And of course,
so you think it would have been better if they would have like had almost like not a split screen, but like a picture in picture of his watch, like a timer.
Kind of.
Would have improved that scene. To the point where you're like, holy shit, he better fucking hurry.
And Carpenter thought that way. But at my point, it's like I would have had to seen it in the theater. Like, if I'm Carpenter, I want to see it in the theater and be like, see which would have worked better. But I think either way, it probably could have worked out. But honestly, that surprise of not knowing until finally he's up there and he's looking down at his watch and it says 1 second left after they had now disabled the little pinheads they got in his throat. I think that worked out just fine, too. I mean, I'm not Carpenter, so at the same time,
you still see that he's cutting it close.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I mean, it's one of those movies. I have a list of classics that I plan to watch, and you said there's a book about it. Correct?
Yeah, there's evidently a novelization of it. I'm sure you're gonna probably pay a pretty penny for it. It's probably out of print, kind of like what the Halloween book was.
I bet you it could be even. I bet you if you search hard enough, you could find maybe find like an audiobook version. You'd be surprised how many audiobook versions of authorized books that are based on, like the Fight Club movie.
Yeah.
That was originally a book, but I have the audio version of the book, and it's amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, but like I've said, if you haven't seen this movie yet, go watch it. It's such a great movie, and if you have seen it, continue to watch it because it doesn't get boring. It really doesn't. And it is slow a little bit, but it also, when it picks up and you want to pick up, it picks up. Because I mean, it's to that point where when he keeps looking down at his watch, you're kind of wondering superficially, like, is he gonna have enough time? Is he looking
Is
at
he
his
gonna
watch
make
and
it?
yeah, is he gonna make it? And that's why I love the movie.
So he does. Spoiler alert: he does make it, by the way,
Yeah,
because they made the
yeah.
sequel. Now, the sequel, when it comes to the sequel, was that something that, because of the success of the movie, you said it was like what, $6 million budget, and made 25? That's insane. 50 worldwide if you look at U.S. and internationally.
Well,
Was that like an afterthought, or was that like as soon as they realized, oh, we got a cash cow here, let's make a
so
sequel?
it depends on who you ask, because Carpenter has been known to say he's gone on record saying he hated making sequels. He hated making Halloween 2 because he didn't want to make it. He was forced to make it in order so that he could make the movie The Fog. But no, the only thing that really killed, I think, Escape from LA is that they waited too long. I think they made Escape from LA in like 90s.
Check it out here real quick.
Yeah, 1996. So this movie was
Yeah.
1981.
Wow, that's a huge
They
gap.
waited
81 to 96.
15 years to make a sequel. And then Ghost of Mars with Ice Cube was actually
I
supposed
love
to
that
be
movie.
Escape from Mars. But because
Oh,
Escape
really?
from LA didn't do well,
They changed the
they
name.
changed it. Yeah. And I mean,
I love
John
Escape
Carpenter
from Mars.
directed that movie, but at the same time, I think what had really happened is that, one, you waited too long to make the sequel, and two, LA kind of it didn't have the magic of what the first did.
I can see that. I did see clips of LA, and it was just like, eh.
But they do have Bruce Campbell in it in a cameo role, so.
Once again, you can't go wrong with Campbell.
Well,
Campbell,
it's so cool that John Carpenter got Bruce Campbell to be in a John Carpenter movie.
I think that's, I mean, so if you were an aspiring actor, Carpenter would be your dream get. Like, I'm in a movie directed by Carpenter, that'd be fucking insane. Of course.
I mean,
now when it comes to, if someone were to remake it, would you be up for it or down for it, or say fuck that?
Depends on who would do it. If you tell me that John Carpenter is coming back to direct, to do the score, to write the screenplay, I'm all for it. There was at one point, there was a point. There actually was talks of a remake where Gerard Butler was going to be a Snake Plisken, which
I'm not mad at that.
I wasn't mad at that. But then there was also rumors that The Rock was going to be in it, and to me,
that would have killed it.
Yeah, it would have been another Doom movie.
There's rumors that The Rock's doing
Big Trouble in Little
Big
China.
Trouble, and you want to talk about killing a franchise? I mean, Jesus, that movie's flawless.
Well, exactly.
And
I'll say this to people that are like, well, the critics hated it. Fuck the critics. I mean, they hated Halloween when it first came out too.
Movie critics, once again, it's like technically everybody's a critic.
Yeah.
Just because you like something, like Chris and I, we do not agree on horror movies. He's seen all of them. I've seen none of them. I don't. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
So critics, I if you listen to critics, you're literally setting yourself up to fail, and you're going to miss something that's actually really good.
Well, exactly.
You know, is there things wrong with every movie? 100%. Even the three best, the best trilogy on the planet, Back to the Future, has flaws in it. But critics, critics should say it was good or it was okay. That's it. That's the only thing they're allowed to say anymore. Because what was it? Rotten Tomatoes. There was a thing on Rotten Tomatoes that the audience loves it, but the critics hate it. Well, right there, that tells you critics are pointless at this point.
Well,
And,
yeah. I mean, it's this movie. Now, I know people will get mad at me for saying this. Would I be mad if this movie ever got remade? No, if it was done right. But ultimately, at the same time, with its political tones that John Carpenter was trying to talk about, people would immediately go to say, oh, well, it's Donald Trump or it's some stupid shit like that. And to me,
right.
it
What about
John
a gender
Carpenter,
swap, Snake Plisken?
again, if he could find the right woman.
Agreed. I mean, one of the things my wife and I do, we there's a movie. It's a Mexican movie. It's called We Are the Nobles. It's in Spanish, Nosotros los Nobles. And if I could make it into a English version, we literally will sit here and watch the movies. Like, who would play that role? Who would that role? So if you were to gender swap Kurt Russell in this movie and make it today, who's your dream cast for Kurt Russell? And John Carpenter is going to film. John Carpenter is going to direct, do all the stuff. I mean, it's going to be not quite a shot-for-shot remake. There's going to be some changes, but you got to gender swap it. Who is it?
God, could anyone really pull off? Because, I mean, Kurt Russell is jacked in this movie.
Well, so. I mean, you could.
Oh, I mean, he wasn't jacked, but I mean, he wasn't.
He was stat. He was for Kurt Russell. He was in shape.
He was in shape.
Gina Carano, if she could act, she'd be good at it.
I could see her doing it.
Like, you could do Gina Carano. You could do what's the chick from the Hunger Games? She might be able to pull it off.
Oh,
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
I mean, if you kept the same undertones, you kept the movie, as, and like I said, I have no frame of reference, but if you like, the dialogue was basically the same, slightly updated, but basically the same, and redid it that way, then you could get a decent, I mean, you don't want to put like somebody like Michelle Rodriguez in or anything like that, because but I mean, you probably could.
Well, but, I mean, Michelle Rodriguez, I could really see her as a female Snake Plisken because she's that tough, badass.
Yeah, she's kind of a badass chick, dude.
Yeah, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. There would be so many ways that you could be like, oh, well, Gal Gadot could probably do it because, I mean, Wonder Woman. But I mean,
yeah, but she doesn't. The thing is, Kurt Russell has an essence of I'm a badass by looking at him.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot does not.
Like,
Gal Gadot, you look at her like a stiff breeze would blow that chick over.
Snake Plisken. That's the thing that I loved about Kurt Russell's acting in this movie is that he doesn't have to tell you he's a badass. It's people always saying,
it's a look.
I thought you were dead. You're alive, Snake? I thought you were dead.
It's a look.
Yeah.
With a glance, you're like, I'm not going to fuck with that dude.
I mean,
and Gina Carano's got that in spades.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin looking at Vince McMahon like, I'm going to stunner your ass, bitch. And you're going to take it. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
And that's, the biggest problem nowadays is they like to gender swap and remake everything because every story's been told. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's only like 8 types of stories. Is it 6 or 8? It's like man versus nature, man versus himself, blah, 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 blah. But I don't mind a remake. Like, you know, we've picked on Mark for loving the new Roadhouse, but
His views on that one are very communist.
yeah. What are you gonna do? You know? But if they would have gender swapped that, it would have ruined it.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't have been the same movie. It would have been 100%, 180-degree movie. But with something like this, because it's man versus time, you know, where he's got a job to do, he's got to get it done, he's got so much time to do it. He's not really going up against somebody else that is a named person. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah. I mean,
you know,
even though
he's
like
going up against a group of people.
Yeah. Like,
but he's not going up against a formidable person.
Like they tried to make Isaac Hayes the perfect bad guy, and he does play the perfect bad guy. It's just one of those things where you look at the way he plays that character, it's like, oh yeah, he's total badass, the Duke of New York, as he claims himself to be. But it's honestly like Kurt Russell probably looked at him and like, really, this is the guy we're going with? Like, and I'm sure Kurt Russell was
and
like,
don't get me wrong,
hey,
I love Isaac Hayes.
Yeah,
I love
he's
Isaac
a great
Hayes.
guy.
But the guy speaks, and I go, Chef.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
or the guy that sung the theme song for the movie Shaft. You know, like
exactly.
I'm waiting for Shaft or Richard. No, I'm waiting for Richard Roundtree to come around the corner and be like, "Hey, Snake Plisken, I'm the real Duke of New York, bitch."
Exactly. I mean, and not that Isaac Hayes was a terrible casting choice, but it comes down to he doesn't scream scary badass. And I'm not saying I could take out Isaac Hayes, but
it's kind of like when they put David Carradine against Chuck Norris and Lone Wolf McQuade. It's kind of like, okay, I could see that they're trying to make David Carradine, you know, he was in Kung Fu, so evidently he must know what he's doing, even though I'm sure Chuck Norris went like, really?
Yeah, but Chuck Norris never once played a bad guy. I mean, you want to talk about Chuck Norris as a bad guy just sounds wrong.
Well, no, I'm just saying in Lone Wolf McQuade, having David Carradine kind of being built as an equal in martial arts standards.
Yeah, but like, if you were to replace David Carradine, who would you pick? We could put Jean-Claude Van Damme in there. Fuck that guy.
Well, he was a little bit too young.
Well, you know what I mean, though. I mean, like, you know,
back in the 70s, there wasn't really much of an equal. I mean, well,
exactly.
No, that was an 80s movie, I do believe.
It was.
You don't have Bruce Lee. You don't have Bruce Lee anymore. So I mean, Jackie Chan, but then it becomes a comedy and just.
So if you could remake this movie, Escape from New York, with just replacing Isaac Hayes, who do you put in?
Conor motherfucking McGregor.
Facts, boy. You know, I mean, I'm talking, you know, from that era, you know, 81, you got, and once again, no disrespect to Isaac Hayes, love the guy, he's a great actor, but let's say he can't make it. Who are you going to replace him with?
I mean, you could go Richard Roundtree. You could have put Richard Roundtree in this movie and made him actually more of an intimidating person. You could have went with Robert Zadar. You could have went with Robert DeVee. You could have. There's so many named bad guys. Hell, you could have even put fucking one of the people that played Michael Myers in fucking Halloween in this movie, and it would have probably worked.
Oh, you know, as we all learned from that fucking Tom Selleck movie, you know, Gene Simmons was kind of a scary dude.
Yeah.
That movie scared the shit out of me. Gene Simmons without makeup scared the shit out of me, man. I can't remember what it's called. Those weird fucking spiders and shit. But
like, yeah.
So if you were recasting this movie in 81, you got everybody, would you keep Isaac Hayes or would you get rid of him?
Unless I could find someone that was better, I'd keep him. I mean, That's the
Would
thing.
would it take away from the movie is the question.
No. I mean, and I'm sure people that first time watch this that aren't like us that love these movies would probably be like, he kind of ruins the movie. It's called Escape from New York, not hey, I gotta get my ass beat
Right.
by fucking
It's
Isaac
once again, it's not a man versus man. It's a man versus
No.
time.
Yeah.
He's got a job to do. He's got time. And yes, the goons, quote unquote, the goons have to try to stop him, so to speak. And you do have to have a face as the head of the goons. And Isaac Hayes is that face, if I'm understanding you correctly. So, does he even go up against Kurt Russell at any point?
Yes.
Or is he just okay? And I'm assuming Kurt Russell wins.
Yeah. Well, the first time that he meets the Duke of New York, he had been shot in the leg with a bow or with an arrow, so he's kind of like hurt. And the Isaac Hayes' character grabs the arrow and kind of twists it. And like Kurt Russell no sells it. Like you hear him kind of like grit his teeth a little bit, but he no sells the shit out of it.
Well, that's a Kurt Russell standard.
And so when he gets knocked out by the Duke, it's kind of like, I'm sure Kurt Russell was like, okay, I'm an actor. I can do this, I'll make it look good. And he does. He really does. But like the Duke in New York, it's such a character that's a throwaway that it's kind of just like you could have put Kurt Russell going up against the Crazies as the main villains.
Or you could have just not had a head of the you couldn't have had it. You could have got away with not having the Duke.
Yeah.
And just had a group of guys that like there were a small government of guys going, let's all go get him. No, like I said, I definitely want to check it out. It's it's on my list. I have a list of like 75 movies I need to see and rewatch and all that stuff. But yeah, like I said, you've quote unquote sold me on it. I definitely should check it out. I've been told I need to check it out for years. It's just nowadays it's harder to find movies, especially where I live.
It is on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's
free on there. Your Amazon Prime. It's not on mine because I looked today because I was like, oh, he's doing Escape from New York. Maybe I should watch it. Then I can help him out.
Get a VPN.
Well, yeah.
And then you could just switch your region to America, and
Yeah, actually not as easy as you think. It can be done. It's a kind of a pain in the ass, but it can be done. I need to get on that. What movie are you doing next week?
I don't know yet. I'm gonna try and get Rock Lee on the show. I want to I talked with Glick a couple of times about it, and he's like, well, are you gonna still just do movie reviews? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, but at the same time I want to do like roundtable discussions. Like we were talking about Ghostbusters last night after a lot of people had left, and I kind of want to do a roundtable discussion on all the Ghostbusters films, even the female version of the Ghostbusters.
In itself, if no other Ghostbusters movie existed, is not actually a terrible movie. I mean, it's not great.
Never seen it.
Really, it's not terrible, but it's not great.
It's a hard sell because I didn't grow up during the Ghostbusters
and I get
phenomena, but at the same time, there's the three main ones, and then there's Ernie Hudson's. So
once again, you gotta it's like when we were talking about Roadhouse. When you watch remakes, you have to forget the originals exist. And I
Mark
think
did
that's the
easily.
problem.
I mean, hell, he thought Jake Gyllenhaal was better than Patrick Swayze. Again, people, we do look at Mark's views as communist.
But if you watch that movie for just what it is, and when you watch any movie, that's what you should do.
Yeah,
it is a 2-hour alternate reality. You're getting a peek in it, and like what's the I can't remember her name. Is it Leslie Jones? She plays the Ernie Hudson version.
Yeah,
not a fan. I think she overacts, so she ruined it for me. But the Melissa McCarthy and the blonde chick from Saturday Night Live, that blonde chick, oof, she's got something, dude. I don't know what it is. She plays the perfect Egon style nerd.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth just, what the fuck are you doing, dude? But I digress. So what are you going to be talking with Rock Lee about?
I want to do an interview. I had talked with Glick about this and all that. I said, I want to get back into doing interviews because
Okay.
I had so much fun with when I had Sandy Johnson, who played Judith Myers, Michael Myers' first kill in Halloween.
Okay.
Tommy McLaughlin, who is the director of Friday the 13th Part 6, and I love talking with him because after Halloween, after Friday the 13th Part 5, Jason Lives, he had to bring Jason back because in Part 5 it's a copycat.
Okay.
And so
once again, another genre I have no idea about. I saw the first one and I was like, really? This is what everybody's freaking out about?
well, it's just a copycat of what Halloween.
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, I watched is it Halloween that I watched? It was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was and
White
I'll
mask guy, they call him the boogeyman, Michael Myers.
I wasn't really impressed. And that doctor should be shot because fuck that dude. He let the guy out. It's all his fault.
He really didn't let the guy out.
He did.
He didn't.
He didn't try to stop him either.
He
didn't try to stop him. He was like, so he's out? What are you going to do?
He told people that he was dangerous, and the people that were in charge didn't want to listen.
Yeah, well,
but it was blamed on him because he was the doctor. And me and my wife make a joke about this because she never knew about this movie until, God, when we first started dating, I showed it to her and she's like, oh, so Donald Pleasance, they were okay that he was a shitty doctor in Halloween and they allowed him to be president of the United States. I'm like, well, at this point, he allowed him and Michael Myers came to an agreement. They decided they'd sign an NDA. He wouldn't talk about each other, and Donald Pleasance became the president. Michael Myers became the Duke of New York. No.
No, but like I said, I realized this morning I did a show every day this week, so I was like, I can't let Steven down. I got to show up. But like I said, I'd love to do an episode with you about some of the movies that I like. Tango and Cash, that one, I love that movie.
Let's go. I would love to talk about that one
because the truck they drive in that, it's so badass. Everybody calls it a Chevy Lumina, but it's not. It's a Silverado.
Yeah.
It's just got a Lumina windshield. And other parts. It's actually a Suburban, but whatever. But and then of course, when it comes to Carpenter films, I've seen Big Trouble so many times, and you want to talk about that's where you fall in love with Kurt Russell because he plays the bumbling idiot that's just kind of along for the ride. But
it's kind of like the best of times with him and Robin Williams.
Yeah, oh my God, I forgot about that movie.
I love it. And that asshole was me.
But and then you got like you did. I still haven't finished it. I was watching it today, and then I had to go cook. But you guys did Porky's last week, and it's been so long since I've seen that fucking movie that I was like,
Yeah, we did the job to Kim Cattrall a lot in that one.
Oh my God, you guys are like obsessed. Like, I need to call Kim Cattrall, make sure she's okay.
You might want to call Adrienne Barbeau and be like, hey, what was John Carpenter thinking? Because you are dynamite.
But like I said,
But then Jamie Lee Curtis also does something to me too. I don't know.
I don't get that appeal. I honestly don't. And it's nothing against you guys. It's nothing against
like her in True Crime was like, or True Lies was like.
Oh, okay. Now that I'm like in the dance scene, I was like, yeah, okay, Jamie Lee Curtis can get it, but that's about it.
Well, she hated the horror genre, and she's only back into it now because the money's still there.
Well, yeah, I mean, the money's always going to be there. But
like,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I'm always down to talk more about what movies you'd want to talk about. I'm always down
Yeah.
with that. And like I told Glick, I'd love to have him on the show. I gotta plan my 5-year fucking anniversary of doing this shit. And
Yeah.
I told Mark, I'm like, I'm gonna need some fucking help because it's like I wanted to make it a big deal, but at the same time, like with me, it's like me making shit a big deal. I probably would go a little bit too overboard and then crap
No,
the
I
bed.
mean, when you think about it, doing like even when nonsense had its third year, we didn't think we would last 3 months because Chris didn't think I would last 3 weeks because of the simple fact I'm kind of when we got started, I'm kind of the guy that's like, yeah, I'm in until you find somebody else because I don't want to do this forever. But and we even talked about it on Monday is it's kind of like my, especially lately, it's kind of my outlet, which is why I've done a
Oh,
show.
definitely. And like
You know,
we were shocked on that you showed up on Monday, but like I told Glick, I said that was so cool seeing Jeff show up,
well,
and be able
it,
to talk.
well,
That was
I'm
cool.
I'm the least likely to talk about my
Yeah.
feelings,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where it's like the past couple weeks I've been going through it and things are looking better, but not a whole lot. It's like it's not a day-to-day change on some of the
It
things
will,
I'm going
brother.
through,
It will.
but it's piddly stupid shit. It's
Oh,
you
it
know
always is. It always
you
is.
know it is what it is. But unfortunately, I do have to run. I wanted to pop in, give you a hand here real quick. I do have to run. I have my kids yelling at me about something to eat, so I got to cook.
All right. And I'm gonna cut it here. Go check out the Nonsensical Nonsense Network or the Nonsensical Network at. Gotta get the thing.
I got it here. It's right. Ooh, well, oh shit. There it is. bio.link/the nonsensical
Nonsensical Network.
Wow.
Where you will find not only this show, but on Monday there is a men's mental health called Men Caring for Men, hosted by Glick, the human Sasquatch machine, as we later call him. Tuesdays is Jeff's Garage, where hopefully we'll get another banger episode by Jeff. The very first episode I was shocked to be a part of.
If you're up for it, I got a game we're gonna be playing. It's my version of Smash or Pass, but we're calling it Crush or Keep It. Crush it or keep it. And I have some pictures that I'm gonna show you guys, and decide if we're gonna keep or crush, if it's good customization or anything like that. But yeah.
I'd love to jump in. Wednesdays is the flagship show, which is now called the Nonsensical
News
Show. Thursday we take a break. We allow Mark and Brian of Talking Shit. That's SHTTT, where they do interviews and great show. Go check them out. Fridays Glick does House of Music, where he interviews music artists. He did a very great one with Hunter Lott, which I loved it. The guy is very humble, and still sticks to his principles in kind of a profession that kind of chews people up like that and spits them out. Saturday, we come back again for kind of a no holds barred, the Nonsensical Nonsense open door challenge, where we drop elbows like Macho Man Randy Savage on Hulk Hogan. And then Sundays, fuck you, Jeff. And then Sundays, you come back and you get to hear me ramble about whatever movie or whatever I'm doing. And if you're also looking for my social medias, head over to Linktree/the Gervais Podcast. You'll find all my social medias. But please check us out. We are building up this network, and we're hoping to make it bigger than some other networks out there, because let's be honest, they can't handle our stuff anyway. So I'm Steven Gervais. That's Jeff. We will see you all next time.
Bye.